Well, OB19 looks like it actually might be a much smaller patch than we're used to. Let's talk about this. The gameplay featured here is brought to you by PureVPN. Keep your information online safe and secure with military-grade encryption and blazing speeds. PureVPN's already been rated one of the best VPN services of 2019. Use the link in the description. You can get your service for as low as $2.88 a month. That is 74% off what it regularly costs. But now, on to the video. Hey everybody, what is going on? Brandon here with another Realm Royale video, this covering OB19. Now, this is the upcoming patch that's coming to Realm Royale, I'm going to guess and say probably in the next week or two. OB19, but what's weird about this one is they didn't actually do an update show. They just released the PTS on Steam so you could download it and test it out. And so I got on there and played a few matches to kind of test it out and see what I thought of it and see really what had changed. And from what I can tell, it's not a very big patch whatsoever. Now, I can't really go into detail as far as things go when it comes to, well, like weapon balances and changes of that nature, because like I said, they didn't do a patch note show. And so I have really no evidence to go off of, like hard numbers to say, okay, they buffed this weapon, they've nerfed this, or anything like that. And I wasn't about to go through and actually play with every weapon in the game to see if I noticed a difference with every single one and try to guess on the balance changes coming in this patch. So I'm just going to wait for the actual patch notes to come out so I can check all the balances. But I will say this, I did feel like the burst rifle in the PTS, the rate of fire was faster. I did feel that. Now that could have just been me. I could have been feeling it differently this game that I was playing with the burst rifle. I'm not really sure. I felt like it was much faster. But like I said, could have just been me, but that is the way it felt. But I'm not going to say 100% that they buffed the burst rifle. Even though they've been buffing all the automatic weapons pretty much the last 10 patches, so wouldn't really shock me all too much. Now, I really only know for sure of 3 actual changes that came into this patch. Maybe 4 if you count maybe the kind of announcement of the new skin, but when it comes to this patch in general, changes to the gameplay and the mechanics, I really only know of 3 things. The first and biggest one being an ability swap. Now, they got rid of Ice Wall entirely, and they've replaced it with Soul Gust. Now, they had mentioned in the last patch notes show that they were going to be making changes to Ice Wall, and that we would see them soon. Now, I don't know if this means this was the change they were talking about, and they're pulling it out permanently and replacing it, or if they are still working on Ice Wall behind the scenes and they might put it back in the game at a later date. I could see that happening because the abilities are getting stale. People are wanting more variety, so I could see them maybe doing that. Doing something similar to Fortnite where maybe they vault something and they bring it out with a little change at a little later date. But right now, Ice Wall got replaced by this new ability, Soul Gust. Now, I was only able to actually get this ability during 2 games. Now, luckily, I was actually able to get it and use it on some enemies, so I could at least get an idea of how it played and what it was like. And what it is, it's a blast that can go through walls, and it knocks back enemies, dealing a little bit of damage. Now, I know the common Soul Gust, when I hit an enemy with it, did 150 damage, and then it also had knockback. And according to the description, it could go through walls. I did not get a chance to test it actually knocking an enemy back through the walls, but as for how it plays, to me it felt like a slower blast arrow. That's how it played a lot like to me, almost like they just reanimated the blast arrow. They gave it a new animation and changed what it did. That's kind of how it felt, like a blast arrow mixed with a concussion grenade. It just kind of knocks your enemy back, and like I said, according to the description, can go through walls, deals a little bit of damage. Now, I'm not a mage main. I don't play as a mage very often, really, at all. Even in the PTS, you can tell, I think in the PTS, I'm only level 10 mage, I think, right now. It's ridiculous, because I never play as it. So, I'm not really sure this might be a good ability for a lot of people. I don't really see a lot of people using it, though, in a way, because it kind of feels like we've already got those abilities in other abilities. Now, I could see situationally how an ability like this could be used, but not this ability. I could see being able to use it through walls if your enemy or your team members and you're playing squads, your team members are in trouble, maybe knocking back an enemy. But because of how slow this moves, I really don't see that being a viable option, and almost the fact that it can go through walls is kind of pointless, because if there's a wall separating you and your opponent, knocking them back a little bit's really not going to do much, and then you're just going to have your ability on a cooldown anyway. I don't really see why somebody would use this over the much faster, much more damaging blast arrow, or the much stronger knockback with the concussion grenade. I'm just not seeing the trade-off for the going through the wall and the lack of speed. So to me, I don't really like this ability very much. I mean, I guess it could be useful. I'm sure somebody will find some really good uses for it. Some of those people that main the mage, I'm sure some of you will probably find some really awesome combinations with this. So some of you mage mains out there, please do me a favor, do some awesome stuff with this and show me how to actually use this ability the right way, because I'm sure there's probably a way it's made to be used and I'm just not understanding it. But that's what I go to my community for. Find out how to use this ability the right way when it comes out. But the talent, or the ability, does come with 2 talents though. Obviously it will come with a talent once you get so far up in the mastery rankings with the mage that will allow Soul Gust to be the first ability you forge. It also comes with an ability modifying talent when you get to level 12 called Creeping Gale, which does Soul Gust will now slow enemies by 50% for 2 seconds. So not only are you going to be able to damage them and knock them back, once you do knock them back, they're going to be slowed down. So definitely, at least if you're going to be a heavy support character, this could come in handy. I'm hoping in a future patch, though, if it was me, I would speed it up, because the only real way it benefits being able to go through walls to benefit your teammates is if it can actually hit your teammate, or hit your enemies that are attacking your teammates. As slow as it moves, it's really hard to hit people if they're at a distance, let alone if there's a wall between you and the enemy. And sorry when I said there was only 3 decent-sized changes. I really should have said 4, because the next one is actually another change, and that is a ping system. We're finally getting it. People have been asking for it for a while. Now, this one's pretty primitive. It's not nearly as big as some other games' ping systems, especially not Apex Legends, but at least it is a start. We're actually at least getting a ping system. So hopefully we'll see them improve upon this kind of primitive one as the game keeps growing. Hopefully this also gets more in depth. This is hopefully just the initial, start of this. But yeah, so this is finally coming. I know a lot of people have been wanting it for a while. So this is one change that we are getting this patch, which is a pretty big deal, I guess, if you look at it from all sides. It is a pretty good sized deal, or a pretty big thing to see coming forward. So the next change I noticed was just a forge audio change. Whenever abilities got done forging, it would play a kind of muffled version of the sound the forge makes when you start forging an item. I really didn't like this very much, mostly because the first time I heard it, I panicked, because it was one of those times where I was forging items and I walked away from the forge to go grab some chests because I didn't see anybody around. Well, when my items finished forging, to me it sounded like somebody else was forging at that forge, so I immediately thought an enemy had gone in there, stole my crap, and was forging his own stuff, and I was prepared to fight. So I would definitely, if I were hi-rez, change the audio a little bit to where it doesn't sound like something is being forged. Like, make it something that lets a player know, okay, clearly that's my weapon, or my rune or my potion's being done, not somebody else trying to steal all my stuff and also forge there. And the last thing that I noticed was just a minor HUD change. Now, instead, when you enter a new location, instead of it popping up at the top of your screen saying something like discovered outpost or discovered gun town, now instead of that, it will in the top right of the screen say now entering and that location's name. But one of the coolest things that came out of this was the fact that they finally did name the cemetery that I always drop in. It never had a name, but it's my favorite place to drop, and they finally named it. But I am kind of upset. They only named it Frozen Cemetery. I would have named it Frozen Guard Cemetery, a throwback to Paladins. That way it would at least explain a little bit why there's so many guns in the cemetery. If these were Paladins characters that were buried here, it would explain a lot more on why there's so much loot here. But, that's just me. That's what I would have named it. Maybe they'll change it. Who knows? I doubt it, though. We'll see. But yeah, that was one change I was really happy to see. Aside from that, not a lot was changed in this patch. So yeah, like I said, this is not a really big patch. There's not a lot changing. I think the biggest change is the mage's ability, I think. Not really a huge patch. I'm really interested in the patch notes to see what the actual balance changes are, so I can have hard numbers to actually read everything and see. But not a big patch. Like, they didn't even do a patch notes show, at least not yet. If they did a patch notes show, I'd be surprised, because there's really not a lot going into this. But I don't know when this patch is actually going to go live. It could be in the next week, could be 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks, who knows. It's hi-rez Studios, they do what they want. So we'll see when this patch decides it wants to release. But yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this patch? Are you excited that they put in a new mage ability? I know a lot of people didn't really like Ice Wall. It was kind of pointless, but I'm kind of feeling like they replaced it with something else that might be just as pointless, might not be. We'll see. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. If you like this video and you want to see more, please do me a favor, mash that red subscribe button. If you want to know anytime Nathan and I upload videos, do us a favor, ring that bell icon so you'll be sure to get notifications anytime we upload anything. And I will see you all next time.